and you proceed to do what I think is a very witty and often splendid and important insight in demolishing these cultic aspects of religion. But can I put a personal point to you? That it seems to me that you then go on and create a kind of cult out of atheism itself.
If you've been as active in the atheist community as I have, you've probably heard someone call the atheist community a cult. Most people who have said this to me have just hurled it as a kind of comeback in response to me calling a certain MLM or religious group a cult. They've said the dictionary says that a cult is just a group of people devoted to a particular object or figure, so that makes atheism a cult too. A smaller group of people have actually claimed that the atheist community is manipulative, hateful, and run by secret puppet masters out to brainwash kids into destroying religious freedom. Do those claims have any merit? Well, I've talked about cults here before, and I have a very particular way of examining groups and determining whether or not they're a cult. So it's only fair that I utilize the same method to analyze the atheist community. The first step in that process is to define the word cult in a way that's actually useful. The dictionary definitions of the word don't have much utility. One is a religion regarded as unorthodox or spurious. That definition allows anyone to call any religion they don't like a cult. I think that there are unorthodox and spurious elements to every religion, but would it be useful for me to call all religions cults? No. Another definition is great devotion to a person, idea, object, movement, or work. Under this definition, certain parts of the atheist community could be considered a cult, but so could sports fans, many schools, clubs, and every religious group to have ever existed. So that's not really a useful definition either. All of this is why when I describe something as a cult, I make it clear that I'm not using the useless dictionary definition of the word. I consistently describe something as cult-like if it adheres closely to a model developed by psychologist and cult expert Stephen Hassan called the BITE model. My longtime subscribers have heard me explain this before, but I'll go over it briefly for newcomers. Stephen Hassan classifies cults not by their size, enthusiasm, or level of social acceptance, but by the level of unethical manipulation they use on their adherents. Hassan calls this manipulation undue influence. His BITE model outlines multiple methods of undue influence categorized into 4 modalities: behavior control, information control, thought control, and emotional control. If a group utilizes a significant portion of these tactics, they're a cult. So, like I said, it's only fair that we examine the atheist community in light of the BITE model to see if it's really a cult. Something to keep in mind as we do this, the atheist community is rather amorphous. There's no central power structure to the community at all. There are several organizations that put on conferences and do charity work, and there are plenty of popular figures in the community which have followings, but there are no official schools of thought or practice. Because of this, it can be hard to nail down what anyone means when they say the atheist community. I foresaw this issue in the making of this video, so I came up with a solution. I'll define the community in 2 ways and compare both against the BITE model. When I refer to the community as a whole, know that I'm referring to organizations with large memberships, like American Atheists, Freedom from Religion Foundation, and Secular Student Alliance, as well as to individuals I've interacted with in small meetup groups and online. The other way I'll define the community is by looking at the example of the most prolific and interconnected atheist group I know of, the Atheist Community of Austin in Austin, Texas. I actually visited the group and filmed their activities just for this video. If any subset of the community is a cult, it would probably be a group like the ACA, right? Well, let's see as we jump into the BITE model. Behavior control. Promote dependence and obedience. As a whole and on the level of the ACA, the atheist community actually seems to prize independence, individuality, and rebellion against undeserved authority. Because of this, a lot of us actually joke that getting atheists to band together can be a lot like herding cats. Modify behavior with rewards and punishments. There's no structure that I know of within the community that has ever done anything like this. A lot of us atheists join the community to avoid religious systems that do that. The ACA is no exception. Here's a few at once. Dictate where and with whom you live, restrict or control sexuality, clothing, or hairstyle, regulate what and how much you eat or drink, and deprive you of 7 to 9 hours of sleep. No, like I said, the community actually seems to encourage individuality. The only control on any of this that I've ever seen encouraged is for sex to always be consensual. Other than that, I don't know of any rules imposed within the ACA or in the community at large. Exploit you financially. There are plenty of people in the atheist community who make money from speaking out as atheists. I'm one of those people, and I make ad revenue from my videos and receive donations from people who want to help me keep releasing videos for free. I don't know of any other activists in the community at large which takes a substantially different approach. How does the ACA make money, and is it exploitative though? They have a few sources of revenue. One, they produce 9 online shows which earn ad revenue on YouTube. Several of those shows also have Patreon accounts where donors can pledge to support them. They sell merchandise from those shows in their building as well. Lastly, they accept donations on their website and during their showtimes. The key to determining if any of this is exploitative is examining the way they prompt their donors. Luckily, I have footage of them doing this.
It's $1 and $2 donations that keep us going every week. And it's because so many people were able to just give a little bit, give what they could, that we're able to keep the lights on, that we're able to keep this building open 7 days a week. It's the reason why we're able to go up from 2 shows to 9. It's why they were able to hire me. Thank you. If you cannot donate, that is okay. Share it out. Write a good review. Those things get us out there so that more people can see it. Hitting the subscribe button actually matters a lot. So please, please do. If you can donate, please consider becoming a patron. Our Patreon is patreon.com/Talk Heathen to me.
Notice the difference between this type of prompt and even the type of prompt the average Christian church gives. With the ACA, they don't evoke the commandments of a higher power, don't establish a rule of a percentage of your income that you must give, they don't imply negative consequences if you don't donate, and don't build unrealistic expectations of reward if you do. Is this exploitation? I really don't think so. Finally, restrict leisure time and activities and require you to seek permission for major decisions. No. Again, individuality is the name of the game here. For behavior control, the atheist community, including the ACA, scores 0. Information control. Deliberately withhold and distort information. Most entities within the community seem to uphold free and open inquiry as one of their core principles. I don't know of any organizations which discourage educating oneself and asking questions about anything. The ACA is a great example of this. Their shows are mostly oriented around receiving calls from theists, answering questions, hearing out objections, and engaging in debate. This is not undue influence. Forbid you from speaking to ex-members and critics, and discourage access to non-cult sources of information. Again, I don't know of any organization or entity in the community which forbids anyone from speaking to anyone. The ACA, for example, lacks any rules regarding who their members can contact or what sources they're allowed to study. There's actually a joke within the community about how us atheists want everyone to read every religion's scriptures for themselves because that's just the best way to create atheists. Divide information into insider versus outsider doctrine. While I don't think entire atheist organizations do this, I've seen individuals do it. Religious people can be seen as alien in a way which I actively discourage. The ACA does not seem to do this as an organization, which can be seen especially in Talk Heathen, an ACA show often hosted by its president, Jamie, and its communications director, Eric.
We don't hate you, we just think you're wrong. And by wrong, we mean that we don't believe that the God beliefs you hold are sufficiently justified.
Generate and use propaganda extensively. A lot of media comes out of the atheist community, but I wouldn't call much of it propaganda. There's no mandate to consume any of it to be part of the community, and the media itself, such as the ACA's, is characterized by open debate and the encouragement of critical thought. This is not to say that all atheist media is good media, because that's definitely not true. It's just that, for the most part, it's void of the manipulative characteristics of religious and political propaganda. Use information gained in confession sessions against you, gaslight you to make you doubt your own memory, require you to report thoughts, feelings, and activities to superiors, and encourage you to spy on and report others' misconduct. In the community as a whole, there's no hierarchy. There's no one to report to confess to exploit you as their subordinate. Although the ACA does have hierarchical leadership, they do not take confessions, encourage reporting the thoughts of yourself or others, or attempt to make you doubt your own memory. Everyone is allowed to do their own thing, so long as it does not demonstrably violate the safety or privacy of others. Thought control. Instill black versus white, us versus them, good versus evil thinking. It doesn't seem that the atheist community encourages the lack of nuance in one's thinking. Because of this, there is a great deal of diversity of thought within the community. I addressed the us versus them attitude previously, and I said it does happen on an individual level. However, I can't say this of the community as a whole or of the ACA. Change your identity, possibly even your name. No, nothing of the sort is required. You can be who you want to be with no one to disallow it. Use loaded language and cliches to stop complex thought, induce hypnotic or trance states to indoctrinate, teach thought-stopping techniques to prevent critical thoughts, allow only positive thoughts, and use excessive meditation, singing, prayer, and chanting to block thoughts. All a no. There are no rituals or common practices taught within the atheist community, and critical thought is strongly encouraged. Some cliches are propagated, but if you want to see what happens when someone within the community challenges those cliches, take a look at my recent video where I did just that and received a fantastic response. On the day I went to the ACA to film, a fan there actually told me they appreciate my videos because I challenge those cliches. Reject rational analysis, critical thinking, and doubt. I hope I've already emphasized enough just how much the atheist community prizes critical thinking. Not everyone is good at it, of course, but between the countless videos, websites, and podcasts all centered around rationality and critical thinking within the community, it's apparent what this community values. This is the only community I know of where the phrase doubt is a virtue is taken seriously. That's a 0 for thought control. Emotional control. Instill irrational fears or phobias of questioning or leaving the group. No, the community tends to encourage a rational examination of one's fears surrounding belief. It's actually very common for an ex-religious person to enter an atheist group, admit they still struggle with irrational fears about having left their religion, and have other atheists then tell them that they have nothing to fear about what they do or don't believe. I've never heard an atheist in any part of the community instill fear in others to keep them in the community. Label some emotions as evil, worldly, sinful, or wrong. No, the community tends to embrace an evidence-based view of human psychology, and individuality down to one's emotions is respected. Teach emotion-stopping techniques to prevent anger and homesickness. No, I've never seen anything of the sort within the ACA or the community at large. Promote feelings of guilt, shame, and unworthiness. No, there's actually a lot of work done against that. Countless people in the community report being shamed for having been themselves in their religious past, and the atheist community embraces them for who they are. The ACA is especially focused on and good at promoting healthy feelings of self-worth. Shower you with praise and attention, love bombing. I think the community has definitely become more welcoming over the last year or two, due in part to the efforts of newer online activists like Holy Kool-Aid, Telltale Atheist, Godless Engineer, Godless Iowan, and hopefully myself. The ACA has seen the same change as well. Is it too much? I don't think it's gotten there yet. Eric, Jamie, Megan, Phil, David, and others will definitely greet newcomers at the ACA with a smile and give them a tour, but I've never seen someone overwhelmed with attention. Personal boundaries are respected. Threaten your friends and family. No way. I've never seen anything like that happen. Shun you if you disobey or disbelieve. There's no shunning, although some people will unfriend those who leave the community. I don't think that's a majority, and no organization I know condones of that at all, but any of this being done is too much in my view. The ACA encourages theists to join them at shows as long as it isn't an attempt at evangelism, and their attitude seems to inspire others to be more accepting as well. Teach that there is no happiness or peace outside the group. No, the community is preoccupied enough with assuring everyone that you can have peace, happiness, and morality as an atheist that it doesn't appear that anyone is working to convince theists that they can't. The idea promoted within the community seems to be that one can be happy with or without God, not that one can only be happy as an atheist. Obviously, with a score of somewhere around 0, the atheist community couldn't be considered a cult according to the BITE model right now. As it grows and changes, however, it still has the potential to turn into one, as any community does. It's wise to do your homework on any group like this before getting involved. If I were to join any community united on the basis of common beliefs or disbelief, I would need to know that community is aware of these manipulative behaviors and puts forth a concerted effort to avoid them. And if they did, how? So, to have that question answered for my viewers in relation to the Atheist Community of Austin, I've asked their communications director, Eric Murphy, to weigh in.
Hey, Drew, thank you for reaching out. It's really important that we draw this distinction. And so, kind of on behalf of the ACA, I'll run you through it. We have people who come in who get out of cults, and it's terrifying. And I've consoled people who have found that they lose their family, they lose their jobs, they lose their community. And when you're doing that and you're tackling how to think about the world, it's scary. And it's a perfect place for a cult. And so here's how we're different. We endorse free thought. We want people to think for themselves. We push for people to form relationships and to be that community that they want to see and be a part of. When people come to the ACA, they usually are just passing through. I mean, we have a good local group and it's growing, but a lot of people pass through. And when they come to see a show, but what they leave with is, well, it's a lot of times, it's friendships that they keep for a lifetime. And we see that. We want to grow that. And we're not the only ones. And so, I mean, that's why I do it. That's why all of us do it. We facilitate that communication. We facilitate that growth. And that's the difference.
So, to my detractors out there, do your homework before calling the atheist community or the ACA a cult. It's not perfect, but undue influence is not the name of the game. And to those involved in the community right now, it's up to us to keep the community alive and ethical. You may have more influence than you think. Acknowledge the influence you do have, study up on how to use it properly, and then help to build a community that doesn't encourage cult mindsets, but liberates people from them. Thanks for watching. I've been Drew of Genetically Modified Skeptic. I want to take a minute to plug Eric Murphy's work, including the ACA show, Talk Heathen, where he and his co-hosts represent the community very well while they talk to theist callers. Most of all, though, I want to recommend Eric's new podcast, the Atheist Podcast, which is crazy high quality, incredibly well hosted, and which features an interesting new segment from Matt Dillahunty in every episode. Give his first episode a listen. It'll definitely be worth it. Link in the description. As always, go ahead and subscribe. Check out my Patreon. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook at GM Skeptic. Join my Discord. And until next time, stay skeptical.